God gave us grass for many reasons. Cows eat it, people walk on it, cricket's played on it, and football should be played on it. If God wanted football played in the clouds, for example, he'd have built a pitch up there. We play football the way I think it should be played.
Brian, I'm disappointed we didn't have the top one quote in there. That's my favourite Cloughie quote of all time. Anyway, he will be forever remembered in Nottingham thanks to the statue at Speaker's Corner on King Street. In a few hours' time, there's going to be a gathering right there, actually. It will be a bit different. It is going to be silent. Rachel Carter is on the line, one of the people behind it. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show.
It's our pleasure. What's happening then later on?
Well, as your listeners may know, this year we've been working towards a scale model of a new sculpture, and we're trying to highlight the disparity that less than 5% of our UK statues, like the Cloughie one, feature women. So we're going to stand underneath Cloughie. We're going to be doing it quietly, but just trying to raise some awareness that we'd like some women represented in our city too.
So hang on, 5% of the statues, is that in the whole of the country?
It is, yeah. When you take out men and the royals and animals and mythological creatures, what you're left with is less than 5%.
Gosh.
And the majority of that are sort of middle and upper class ladies. Very few represent working class women, and even less represent women of colour. So we're not represented very well at all in our cities, and we'd just like to try and change that.
And what's the thinking with being silent? Because obviously at the moment we're in a time there is quite a lot of direct action. I'm thinking about the environmental groups. They're up on Dartford Bridge again today. Just the other week we had people chucking tomato soup at the famous painting in London, didn't we? I'm not suggesting that you're doing anything like that, but... But we are in a time of people wanting to make their voices heard, and that there you are being silent. What's the thinking with that?
Well, I think when you look at statues across the cities, they're not speaking, but they're speaking to you in a very different language, the way that they're there and they're present. So we're just being there, we're being present, and we're quietly being visible. And a lot of the women that are going to be joining us, I don't think they'll mind me saying, they're of a certain age. I think you get to that point in your life where you kind of feel like you're invisible to society, and I think that's what's reflected with our statues as well. So we're going to have a few different activities going off, and all of it's going to be quiet.
OK, so that starts about 2:00 later on this afternoon. I know you are looking to get a statue made and then put up somewhere in Nottingham as well, but you've got to raise money for that, haven't you? How is that going?
It's going really well, actually. So we opened our fundraising just before we had the big exhibition in Nottingham a couple of weeks ago, and the public have been donating from as little as £1 to whatever they're comfortable with, and that's been fantastic. And now we're starting to talk to local businesses and companies and making applications to major funders as well. So it'll be a collective part, but I'm really, really pleased with the results that we've got so far.
So this would be, presumably, after everything you've said, Rachel, this is going to be a statue to do with a woman or women, is that right?
That's right. It's going to feature two women, and it's looking at an historical period of time in Nottingham's history, but the subject matter is very relevant today when we look at the effects of fast fashion and the cost on the environment and people trafficking. So we're looking at that period of time during the Industrial Revolution where Nottingham really benefited, as many cities did, from the transatlantic slave trade, cotton picking, that raw material coming into the country and being spun. Nottingham's a city built on its lace history. And where did that material come from? It came from parts of the world where it was picked in very terrible conditions. And it's something that's very similar today that's happening on other areas of the world. You know, the people are working in terrible conditions for the cost of fashion. So some things don't change, but we want to represent the women's contributions. And a lot of women from Nottingham worked in the textile industry.
And so, I don't know if you've got any kind of idea of timescale for the statue. Maybe give us an idea of that if you can, but also where would this statue be sited?
Well, we're hoping it's going to be placed in the Green Heart of Broadmarsh, which would be a fantastic space right near the library. So great for, if it's encouraging people to find out more, they've got all those resources there. But our timeline, so at the moment we've got a scale model and we're touring that. We've been asked to take it to Derby this weekend and then the following weekend to take it to Leicester. Then it'll come back to Nottingham and it'll be placed in St Peter's Church on display. So we're going to continuously fundraise for the next year and then start creating the bronze, and hopefully it'll be installed in Broadmarsh ready for 2024.
Well, look, it's been a pleasure talking with you again, Rachel. Thanks for coming on. And that silent gathering, do we call it a protest or a gathering of people will happen 2:00 this afternoon. Bye, Cluffy. It's BBC Radio Nottingham.